z-scores. Z-scores allow you to compare two things that really have nothing in common. If you, say for instance, you took a test. You took a test in your AP Chem class and you got a 72. And the teacher said, that's really good. And then you took a test in your statistics class and you got an 89. And I said, could have done a little bit better. Now, what you need to look at is the comparison to the rest of the class, not just the score. If in your 72, you got one of the higher grades, you're in the upper percentile in that class, and your Z-score is going to be higher. You're going to be higher than most of the kids in that class. In the 89, maybe you were in the lower percentile. So even though you come out with a grade number, it's a kind of like a feeling of how did I do compared to everybody else? And how do I compare my AP Chem test to my statistics test? So we're going to take a look at two different types of things and compare them to see who does better in the long run. So I'm in your book on, guys, I need to talk in this stop. On page 99. So on page 99, we are comparing two different types of football teams. Someone that plays for the NFL, an organized sports team, and someone that plays for arena football. Now, it's two different types of football settings. The Kansas City Chiefs scored 63 touchdowns. This is page 99. 63 touchdowns. The Tampa Bay Storm scored 119. So by looking at it, we would say Tampa Bay Storm did better. But, ladies, there's two different settings for both of these football teams. So we want to know how they performed compared to the rest of their group. And then we can compare them. So in order for us to do this, we have to look at the mean and the standard deviation for each group. And then we have to find their z-scores. Once we find their z-scores, we will know actually which team performed better. So we're going to take a look at each one of these and see where they stand. First, the Kansas City. We're going to graph them. You usually can see this right on your graph. Here's your mean. Here's your standard deviations. Here's their score, 63. So their standard deviation is only 9.3. So each time up, we're going to add 9.3. We're going to put these both on our curves and take a look at how they perform. All right, so 46.7. We're just going to keep adding 9.3. They're both above, so they're both above the mean, so I'm just going to go above the mean. Here's your 0, and they're in positives. Already you can see your Kansas City guy performed way up here. See where he performed? Well above his mean. The Tampa Bay Storm, if we put this on, and here's the mean, 111.7. But look, this is a lot wider as well. So we're going to add your standard deviation of 17.3 and add it again. And we'll just add it one more time. They scored 119, which is somewhere in here. So just by looking at the sketch, who did better? In comparison to their group. The Chiefs did better. The Kansas City Chiefs, even though they scored less touchdowns, they did better because they cover more area here. This is their percentile. So to find the exact percentile, and I have a sheet for you of the table. way you can keep this in your notebook. The standard table, you're going to probably use this one the most. So this way you can have this with you. And put it in your notebook and you don't have to flip through pages, and you're going to use this one for the rest of this course. Okay, so let's set up the z-scores for this. So the z-score formula says z is equal to x minus the mean over the standard deviation. Their x value is this. This is their mean. This is their standard deviation. Remember the chart I gave you looking at the symbols for population versus sample? The U is called mu, and it stands for your population mean. And this is your standard deviation for your population. So we're going to subtract 63 minus 37.4, and we're going to divide by 9.3. And we're going to take a look at their z-score. But because we do our chart, we also know it's somewhere between the 2 and the 3. You need to have a good estimate. Otherwise, you're never going to know if you're wrong or right. So this comes out to be 2.75. And again, we round it to 2 decimals because that's the one that your book uses, 2 decimals. Then we find the z-score for Tampa Bay. Same formula. X, which is their touchdowns, minus the mean over the standard deviation. So their z-score comes out to be 0.42. Now, the z-score for the Kansas City Chiefs is higher. It covers more area. The area is always to the left. So take your table and look up 2.75 in your table. And tell me what the area is for 2.75. 0.9970. 0.9970? Thank you. And the area for 0.42. Remember how we did this?
0.6628.
0.6628? Okay, remember how you do this. You're going to look up this one as 0.4, and you need this hundredths place to be a 2. So come across the top to 0.2, come down, and that's this one right here. So if we flip this to a percent, we can tell this guy is better than 99.7% of the participants in that league. This one's better than 66.28%. We know it had to be more than 50, right? It had to be more than 50. This guy has to be way more, very close to 100, because it's very close to that 3, which is really, really small out there. So a way of comparing 2 different groups is using your z-score. And then you can say how they did compared to their setting. Arena football and NFL football are 2 different types of footballs. Arena football, pretty much anything goes, and NFL has rules up the yin-yang. So they got a lot of different things going on. So I want you guys to try it yourself 7. I want to see sketches, and I want the z-scores and the results. Let's take a look at this. Here's my graph. God bless you.
What's that then?
Here's the mean, 23.6, and I'm adding 6. 29.6, 35.6, 41.6. I'm subtracting 6 to get down here. These are your positives. God bless you, these are your negatives. So subtract 6, and you get 17.6, 11.6, and 5.6. Okay? Watch where this one falls, the 16, way down here. Okay, so when you come out with this, shouldn't you get a z-score that's between -1 and -2? Right? We can tell right here, look at the area to the left. He's not better than too many of these people here, right? 50% is up to here. So he's even way less than half of 50% because of the way your curve goes. Your biggest part of your curve is here. So we can't even say he's half because this is not like a box. It's a curve. So we do our z-score and we say z is equal to x minus the mean over the standard deviation. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. You guys should not be talking. So what do we come out with?
Negative 1.27.
Negative 1.27. And does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, it makes sense between the -1 and the -2. So now we take a look at Tampa Bay for the arena football, and we say, okay, put your mean here. Your mean is 11.7. If you make this first, this is all the information you need right there. Pull their information out. We call this an information box. Make your box of information, and then put it on your graph. This is your 0, 1, 2, 3. Your -1, your -2, your -3. Of course they have to use different numbers.
The more I figured it out.
Very good job.
But I wasn't paying attention to the
When do we come in with?
Someone who's willing to admit it.
Well, because I figured it out on my own.
When do the
Very
percentage
good.
come into play?
Well,
I mean, negative.
Oh.
Okay.
So then,
So, Tampa Bay has 12, which is somewhere after the 11. So when we do this, Tampa Bay's z-score should be between 0 and 1. So again, we plug the formula in. We take the x value, 12, minus the mean, 0.07. Thank you. 0.07?
Yeah.
Okay. Not 0.7? 0.7. Okay, thank you.
I know.
So now, when you look this up, how am I going to find this on my table, the 0.07? Zero. Good. Go to the 0.00 and go over to the 0.07. This is the hundredths place. So, finding the areas of both of these. What did you find for your area for your first one? For -1, 0.1020.
10%.
Shh, guys. So 10.2%. Kansas City, in their field, in their NFL, were only better than about 10% of the players, of the teams. Now we go to Tampa Bay, in their arena football, and we look up 0.07. What'd you get for 0.07? 5279. Doesn't this make sense? Shouldn't it be a little bit bigger than 50%? Isn't half your curve 50%? So this should be just slightly bigger. So it's approximately 53%. So we know that Tampa Bay did better in their field than Kansas City did in their field. Now, without the z-scores, we have a difficult time because it looks like Kansas City had more field goals. 10 question?
Yeah, can you just go over how you got the 52?
The 52, take your table and go to the positive side. And this one's a little tricky because you see the 0.07? It's going to have to match up to the 0.00. And then on the top, you're going to pull off your 0.07. This is where your tenths position comes from. This is your hundredths along the top. Yeah, you got to be on the positive. Also, be careful on the negative. It goes in the opposite way. The totally opposite way. Yes.
No,
I have no control over this. Okay, so here's your assignment, guys. You already did 1 and 11.